What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the national championship that just happened Monday. So, obviously, Georgia beat them, 65-7. Obviously, Georgia TCU winning this national championship game. They played really good semifinals game versus Ohio State. They won by 1. And then TCU played Michigan. It was a pretty good game as well. And they just out physical Michigan. And they played really, really well. In this game, not much of the same. This was the biggest national championship blowout in the history of the game. It was bad, 65-7. Georgia just came in and destroyed TCU. And now some people are talking about Georgia potentially being the best team of all time in college football history. Now, that's a different topic for me, but I think you'd be oblivious if you went into this game, you watched it, and by the fourth quarter, you could say even by the third quarter, that Georgia's just on a different level than a lot of other teams in the country. And a few players for Georgia that just make them on a different level is Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett's maybe not the best name in college football, maybe the best player in college football, but he's the ultimate winner. He does whatever he's. Georgia doesn't need a terrific quarterback. They don't need anything spectacular. They just need a guy that can run their offense correctly and don't make mistakes. And just looking at TCU side, how you end up losing 65-7. Well, TCU made so many mistakes, turnovers, 3 before halftime. TCU was coming into the game. They played Michigan, and TCU was coming in. You knew that they were a very physical football team because how they handled Michigan, because Michigan was known this year to be a physical team, and they just came in and destroyed Michigan physically, and Georgia just did the same thing to TCU. So physically, Georgia was just way up there. Some Georgia players that just stand out and really good football players. A.D. Mitchell has been really good in the playoff games. He was really good versus Ohio State. He caught the game-winning touchdown from Stetson Bennett. Great route right there. Darnell Washington is at force blocking. Unbelievable. So is Brock Bowers. And all three of those guys are just huge contributors in the definition of what Georgia was this year, which was dominant, physically dominant, and just really good football players. And no pun intended, but they are dogs. They are that good of a team, and they really gelled this team on offense to just completely dominate. And obviously, McIntosh as running back too, he was a really standout guy and played really good football down the stretch. But I do want to give respect to TCU. TCU played really good all season. They handled their business. They were the Cinderella team heading into the playoff. They got it. They got the spot. They beat Georgia. They played a national championship. And they just were outmatched. But it just came to my theory that obviously Georgia and Ohio State won the national championship game because the score is so close, and they looked so balanced to each other on the field. And a lot of that, I think, is because there's only a select few teams in the country this year that can match up with Georgia's skill for skill, talent for talent. That's Alabama, that's Ohio State. And I think those two teams would give them the best task in the playoff if Alabama wouldn't made it, and if Ohio State got a better matchup for their semifinal. I think it could have been an interesting national championship. Georgia is just too good of a football team. There was times during the portion of the year where you weren't really sure about them because they had some tough games. Didn't they have a tough game versus Kent State, Missouri? They looked beatable in some games. But when it really mattered, Georgia came together, they collected themselves, and they dominated to get it done versus Ohio State late. Now, the key factor in the game, Marvin Harrison Jr. got knocked out of the game, and that's really tough for Ohio State, and you feel for him, but they still collected themselves, Georgia, and they came at him and they won the game. And I just got to give it to Georgia and Kirby Smart because they are building a dynasty, and they have an opportunity next year to three-peat. But they have the talent to three-peat. And that's scary because that means Georgia, I think they are. Georgia is the mecca of college football right now. They are college football right now because they are so dominant. In 2-year stretch, they've only lost one game, and that was an SEC championship game last year. They are the definition of dominant right now. And Kirby Smart's done a terrific job there. He's recruited the guys that he's wanted, and he's developed. Their development is insane of players, and they're going to continue putting guys in the league. Interesting to see how teams bounce back. But yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.